As we look at the musculoskeletal system, the joints are something we need to be addressing, and there's a lot of things we can talk about in the wellness category for joints. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And joints are pretty complex, okay? We've got that's the interface between the bones and the muscles. We've usually got some kind of, if it's a highly movable joint, synovial joint, we've got a joint capsule, all this, a lot of tissue, a lot of connective tissue. And there's a lot of things we can do in the wellness category to help our joints, okay? And it's all basically in a joint. It's all, the name of the game is movement. We have to have movement in the joint. The problem is, as we get a little older, or if we've had accidents or injuries in various joints, they end up getting stiff and sore, and we don't want to move them because it hurts. Well, the less we move them, the more they get stiff and achy, and then the less we move them and the more they get stiff and achy. And the answer in the medical system too often has been, okay, if this joint is stiff and achy, we'll give you an anti-inflammatory and a painkiller so that you can keep moving. And there's some sense to that, but at the same time, moving a joint that's grinding, that's so tight and dysfunctional that it's grinding down to a nub, and you don't feel it because you're on a major painkiller, then we go in for replacing the joint. And unfortunately, we've got to the point where that joint replacement is all too easy. It should be scary major surgery, and now it's like, oh yeah, no big deal, go replace your knee. So let's talk about joint health from a wellness perspective. And again, we'll apply our wellness principle to this. So how do we stop poisoning our joints? And let's look at that. How do we flood the joints with nutrients? And how do we manage our stress in the joints? And probably the manage our stress in the joints, we're talking about structural stress. That's probably the biggest discussion here, although of course the other ones are relevant too. So if you've been following me, then you know that I'm really big into awareness, and our consciousness, I really think, is our most powerful tool for healing and wellness, our most powerful tool. We have lots of great tools we can bring to bear. I like the Young Living products. There's all kinds of exercise things that we can do, these additional things, but consciousness is really the most powerful tool that's going to participate and get you well. So if you can learn to use your consciousness, that's why I'm big focus on that. Now I go into some of the breathing here and there, and oh, geez, he's doing that breathing thing again. He must be some new ager. Breathing and consciousness are not a new age concept, okay? So that's all throughout the Bible. In fact, Jesus never gave us a diet and exercise program, but he did give us a mind control consciousness program, okay? Be aware of what you're doing. All right, so let's look at the joints. Now, I'm just going to pick a knee joint. So here's my little skeleton. I think we call him Buddy, but okay, so here's our knee joint, and you can see in the case of a knee joint, we've got 3 bones that come together, and then a patella, which is supposed to be separated, but they can't do that in a piece of plastic. So it's really 4 bones in the knee joint, 1 femur, tibia, fibula off to the side, and then the patella in the middle. And so the whole point of a joint, and it doesn't matter where you look, here are the joints for the ribs, right? They're supposed to move. Here's the joint for the collarbone. Here's the shoulder joint, right? We've got only three bones in there: the humerus, the collarbone, and the scapula. And that there's your joint. Your elbow, 3 bones in there. Your whole spine are joints. Of course, in the plastic skeleton, we don't see them as joints, but every one of those little vertebrae move. So the whole point, even this one here, pubic symphysis, which is very, very fused, right? It does move, and even the cranial sutures, these joints that obviously not this cut that's across the top to open up anyway. But if you see, okay, see that suture that's represented here, and then the occiput suture. All these, the skull is not fused. These bones actually flex. We'll talk more about that later on. Here's the joint for the jaw, right? So all the joints are supposed to move. That is their function. If they're not moving, we're going to have problems. Okay, so the problem with the joints and body awareness is as you start to do breathing, as we've been talking about, you start becoming aware of your body. And that can come with some discomfort. If the body is hurting and I start breathing in and now it starts to hurt, you're not going to want to do the breathing, right? It's like, I don't want to be in touch with my body. I want to stay out of touch with my body. I want to just take my painkiller and move on. All right, but that's not going to get you well. And the fact of the matter is that pain is there. It is happening. The brain is registering it, and it is sucking the life out of you, even if you're covering it up with the painkiller and all the rest of that stuff. So here's what I like I'm just going to talk about one product in this context, the Cool Azul pain cream. And what I like about it is the essential oils are so much into the wellness category. They don't just cover the stuff up, they actually help the situation. They help the tissue maintain healthy inflammation, and there's a lot of science that goes into that. So what I'm saying is, here we do have the Cool Azul pain cream. So as you breathe into your joints, or you could even just use your peppermint wintergreen oil, which are the active ingredients in there, then what you've got is an opportunity to go in and you just rub the pain cream into whatever joint is hurting, but you need to continue working with the joint. Okay, so I'm going to breathe in, and you can do this for every joint. I don't have time to do this in a 15-minute video. We're going to breathe into the knee, okay? So it's going to breathe into our knee. I'm going to pick my right knee, and I'm going to breathe in, and I'll breathe in and reach down with my consciousness into the knee. I'm going to start at the top of the joint, which is the end of the femur, right? Okay, so, and I'm going to I can go ahead and touch that part with my hands because that brings my awareness to it. And that's where it's fabulous to have the oils because they make it all tingle. And so breathe in, and I'm at the end of that femur, and then I'm going to move into the joint. You notice that the joint has a space, right? We get the two bones coming together. And it's very complex, lots of tissue. You don't have to know all the architecture in there, but what we're going to do is we're going to breathe circulation. We're going to really because that's the first thing that happens in there is we want to get things moving. We want to get circulation in there. So I'm going to breathe into that joint, and you'll find that there's synovial fluid in there in this particular joint. And so I'm going to breathe into that fluid, and I'm going to feel it move, feel where, if there's any tension or that kind of thing. Now, this is a knee I've had surgery on, so it's bringing up a whole lot of messages. And the body's like, whoa, wait a minute, you haven't paid attention to me in a while. You expect me to function, and you don't even listen to me. You totally neglect me from a consciousness perspective. And you think, so what I'm saying, here's a dialogue going on, and it's not so happy with me. So I'm going to breathe in, and now I'm going to breathe in light and love. And I'm going to breathe in this sense, even the massage. I'm going to breathe in this little bit of movement so that fluid can start to flow and be warm. Not inflamed, but warm. Now, if you breathe in and you find it hot, you can breathe in coolness, right? You can breathe in whatever coolness looks like to you. I mean, I kind of think of a snowy field or snow falling and nice cool. If you've ever been around in winter, some of you maybe have never seen snow falling, but anyway, so breathing in, and now I've got the lower bone. I reached across the joint. Let me get to the other bones. I'm missing the fibula from bone cancer. That one was taken out, and so I've only got the tibia. So I'm going to breathe in. So there's my joint capsule, and again, I'm going to breathe in, lighten up. Now, I want you to compare, as you just did that little breathing to the right knee, I want you to compare how your right knee feels compared to your left knee. All right. Now, right now, my right knee feels warm and loved, and my left knee is just nothing. There's nothing going on. I mean, I can touch it and go, okay, yeah, there's a knee there, but it's nothing like the consciousness I have brought to my right knee. And so now I'm going to move that knee just a little bit, okay? And obviously, if movement in any particular way is hurting, you don't want to push it on this. You just want to start with gentle movement. The more movement you can get, the more conscious movement. A lot of people think that therapy has to be aggressive. We have to get the results. What if at the end of a year, every joint in your body moved a little better than it did today, okay? And you worked on it a little bit here and there, okay? And so this is part of what I think of in terms of wellness. Give yourself 2 years to do this whole program of mine for 2 years. Do it 1 year and then turn around and do it another year, and then the second year you can start to target a little more attention to the things that you know you need. But after that first year, you'll have a really good knowledge of what's going on and what you need. So 2 years. And what if at the end of 2 years you're better off than you were 2 years ago? Instead of the other way around, if I don't do anything and I just keep going the way I'm doing it, then I'm going to be worse off. Okay, so that's a synovial joint, the right knee. I'm going to breathe real quickly into my left knee, just so it doesn't feel left out. I'm going to bring that light and love, and it gets easier and easier as you do this. Okay, now I've got all kinds of joints I haven't breathed into, but I'm going to tell my mind, I've got the joint, right? I'm going to have one idea of a joint, and I'm going to breathe into all those. Okay, and I'm simultaneously, just because I declare that I'm breathing into every joint in my body, and I am sending it love and circulation. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have toxins, because when we say, the toxins get stored in the joints, the metals, especially metals, but a lot of toxins can get stored in the joints. So here's why we need a detox program that's a kind of a constant thing. You notice that I constantly talk about sulfurzyme. We need sulfurzyme every day. We need sulfurzyme. So there's our red drink, which I've talked about. But we need that extra sulfur because heavy metals, detox process, they only go through the sulfur derivatives. And if we don't take sulfur in adequate context and adequate amounts and kind and form, then we end up stealing our glutathione, if you've heard of glutathione. And that's your intracellular antioxidant that protects your machinery inside your cell. Then if you got low glutathione because you're trying to detox metals, then you have high inflammation, high potential for autoimmune responses, and there's a whole cascade that goes on with that, okay? So especially in the joints, you can have situations with autoimmune, and that's where that's coming from, in my opinion, is that the joints have a lot of toxicity, and we're not getting enough sulfur to protect against the heavy metal toxicity that ends up getting stored in the joints. So I'm going to breathe into my joints, and I know there's metal that's going to come out of that, okay? And so now I'm going to make sure, after I do this breathing, that I'm going to drink my red drink, okay? And I'm breathing into every joint in my body. I said I've just got a representative joint. And even the skull sutures, the spine, all the different little joints in the fingers and toes and feet. Okay, all those joints I'm representing in one breath. Okay, and I'm breathing in light and love. Breathe in calmness. And I'm going to breathe in movement. Appropriate movement for the joint. Okay, now I know that I've just had some toxins dump out. I can already feel my kidneys talking to me, and I feel my lymph system on the left start to respond. So it wasn't just metal toxins coming out. There's some other kind of toxin that just came out. So I'm going to have to go watch out for detox. So the body will detox very, very powerfully when you bring your consciousness to it. It does what it's supposed to do. So if we can breathe every single day a little bit, it will do what it's supposed to do, which is clear these toxins. And then, of course, you want to minimize your exposure. That's why I have this wellness strategy. Okay, so I hope this has been a little helpful with joints. I know there's a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the spine and the skull a little bit more specifically as we go through this course. But the joints they have to move. And so not only do we think about movement, and by the way, that it really works. If you think about moving the joint, the muscles start to contract that move that joint. But we do want to start to move. So you can start, maybe I'll do a series of videos on moving each joint and that kind of thing, so we can get a little bit more aware of our movements, okay? That's called kinesiology, or the study of human movement, kinesiology. Okay, so do your breathing, drink your water, drink your red drink this month for sure. Or if you're not doing the red drink, then at least take some extra sulfurzyme and vitamin C. Go back to that first month. Remember the first month? Sulfurzyme and vitamin C, Super C. Why did I do that? Do you see why I did that? Because we're going to, anytime you detox, anytime you feel that happening, go back to that first month of sulfurzyme and Super C. Those are your main detoxers, okay? All right, happy wellness, one day at a time.